Hello. Um, I was talking yesterday about Queen Elizabeth, and I told you that I am I have DNA with her and, and her family, and on my mother's side, and so and it was a name I got yesterday that surname is Windsor. That's the surname, Windsor. It's a royal, and they have been king in England, I think in Scotland. And I am not so good in history, but I learn from my DNA result. And it's June 4th, 2022. And I sit here in Sweden, and my name is Eva Virginius. And then this morning I wake up and check what's going on internet, and then I saw in my mails that I have got a match of a woman that I look in my family tree, and she was married and have children with the brother of Joseph Smith Jr., that the founder of the Mormon Church. So I know I come closer and closer to be related to Joseph Smith. Even I don't know how very close I am now, but I am really sure that I will be very close to Joseph Smith in my DNA. And this is close enough to have this connection. But then I look at where he was born. This woman, her husband was brother of Joseph Smith Jr. And I look at where he was born, and he was born in Vermont, and he was born in a county that have the name Windsor also. So it seems like God or those spirits want to point out this today. First that I check out this Windsor surname, and then suddenly today, is it Windsor in Montana? Did I say that? Vermont. And then that place where he was born, it's the name is Royal Town. So that is very pointing out how close they were to the royal family in England. And I know you know that I am a member of this church that they want us to call, name it, we should not say a Mormon church, but most people know the church, Mormon church, but they want us to say And I have so hard because I have dyslexia, some, not very much, but I can change those letters so it be so very wrong. It's I have to think very much about it before I say it. LDS church. So sometimes I say LSD. So that's so total wrong. So I prefer to say Mormon church to not do wrong, say something wrong, and then I was talking to one of these the highest female leaders about what I find in my DNA, and I say that Joseph Smith, his family, his mother and father, they were coming from royal family, and here in Sweden is it not so much that family help each other, but in some countries families are very tight and they help each other, and and this leader of the women's side of the church, she be very angry at me, and she didn't want me to talk like that. I talked like Joseph Smith was from a royal family, because they want the myth, the fairy tale, to be there the whole time, how they struggle the whole way down to Utah from New York, and they live in a little village that is, the name is Stockholm, like our capital, Stockholm. There is just outside New York, and they live there, and then they walking. They say they're walking, and that I have doubt. I don't think they were not so poor. This that started the church, and how could they build those temple and do those things they did if they didn't have money in the background? So, but they want to hide this, the church. And I was thinking today when I find it out how close, and as they have married in the Mormon church, it was in the beginning they could have many wives and have lots of kids, and that's make it. If I only had one ancestor in Joseph Smith family, then I have the whole world from that branches, because they got so many kids, and even if it's much in marriage, but there is a lineage that is going to me from Joseph Smith, going from Joseph Smith in United States to England, and then to England, to Sweden, and Sweden, Russia, and my DNA show me and teach me how the world is today, because the hidden secret agenda there is in this world is revealed by the DNA. And I am thinking that God maybe wanted me to do my DNA not for me to know my ancestors. That, and it was very surprised, shocking, when I found out how much I had of the history in my DNA. But I don't think it was about me. It's about me to understand the world and what we have today, because it's reveal what's under the surface that a normal person doesn't see. But it tells me this because my Jewish friends on Facebook, they say that the Rothschild family, they were not Jewish, but it is about money, and the banks is about. I'm not a political person, but I know these things, that the bank is what. It's not the political people that have the control over the world. It's the money, and the money is what the devil use to deceive the world with. God is not about money. And so I have told you in another episode that in 2016 was I in Israel, and I should go. God have told me that I should go and visit one of the leader of the Israeli Samarian people, and to could do that, I was thinking I had first a hotel in Jerusalem, but then God told me more about this leader, that I need to go and visit him and talk to him, Benjamin Sedaka. And because of that, I changed the hotel so it should be closer to Holon, where he lives. And so I come to a hotel, and it was a Russian hotel. It's very much Russian people in Israel. And I go with a city bus. It was my third time in Israel, so I was not scared or nothing. I was used with Israel, so I took the bus, ordinary bus, that everyone take, that I have no car. And outside the hotel, I must look at the sign of the bus stop, so I knew where to go to stop and walk out from the bus when I come back. And I look at that and I say it's Rothschild Avenue. And then when I come back to Sweden, I was looking at that place where I was standing, and then I saw that Rothschild Avenue is all over Tel Aviv. It's very wide and go through the whole city, very wide. Real main street in Tel Aviv, and Tel Aviv is the devil's city. It is the money. Where the money is Tel Aviv. It's where the homosexual people are meeting each other and do their things in Tel Aviv. And Tel Aviv want to be the capital of Israel because they have the money. And Jerusalem is, they changed to be the capital, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And Jerusalem want to be that because the culture and the religions are in Jerusalem. So those two cities is very different from each other. If looking into it more deep to get that understanding, and if there is some music shows, most of it is in Tel Aviv, not in Jerusalem. And so that was the first I did. And after I have been to Benjamin Sedaka, I had got it from someone or from God. It was from God that I should go to a museum in Jerusalem. So I took a taxi to that place because it was an appointment. It was a time I have to be there. So I couldn't go with a bus. I have to go with a taxi. And it was not expensive. I'd be surprised if I should go back to Israel, visit Israel again. I am going with a taxi, much with a taxi, because it was very cheap. So, and in the museum, I got it that I should do my DNA. And I had not thinking about to do any DNA, and I was not interested on the family tree because I knew my family tree because my mother's sister have bought someone to make the family tree, and they look into the archive of church books, and they did a family tree, and I was impressed of that I had until 1650. That's where it started with the church books. Before that, it was nothing written down. If it was not that they were some famous or royals, historic people, that was written down. And so I was happy to could go to 1650, and but my mother was disappointed because she said that they only find farmers. It was only farmers, everyone in the family tree. It was very much farmers. And my mother's sister, her husband had a royalty in his family tree. So he was very proud of it and brag about it. And my mother's sister was angry that she didn't had anyone. And then my DNA result was that family, it was a family name, it was a surname, a farmer, but in Swedish, bonde. And those were royals. And my mother never come to know it. It's so sad that she was so interested of this with royals. And she was so disappointed that they were only simple farmers. It of course it's about me also. I'm very happy to see that I am from Royals line on my both parents' sides, and it explained for me why my mother was like. It's like it's in the DNA, but today it's a spirit here confirm it. But today I know that it's the ancestors that make her what she did, what she said and did. It was affected of her ancestor, my mother's ancestors, because my mother treated me. She educated me to be like a royal, and those few friends I had that come to my home after when my parents was divorced. Before that, I was scared to. I didn't took anyone into my home, as I didn't know if my father was very drunk. He was always drunk, but if he was very drunk, so he was silly and nasty in his drunkenness. So I never took home anyone. But after the divorce, my mother kept the home, and my father took his new Mercedes-Benz car. He took that car. So the home was intact. So, and when my friends come home to me, they say, "Wow, it looked like a castle." They say that about the home I had, my mother's home. You could never see that my father was really an alcoholic, drunk man. He working the whole time as a manager for insurance company, and he had lots of money, but he drink it up. So I know this kind of thing that I have talking about, and what the spirits have talking about to be addicted to alcohol. So it was in the 1930. My parents, they drive around in the castle, or the spirit is confirmed here so much. It's ancestors that is one of them, those that have pushed my parents to do what they did, because they were driving around in 1930s. Was it depression, money depression? The banks crashed, and people may make suicide because they lost so much money and lost everything they had. They were thinking in this wrong way, that they could never build it up again, what they lost. And so it was many castle here in Sweden that have to sell everything of value for to have the money to get the castle to go around, to the castle to not be sold away. So there was very much to buy from the castles, and my parents, they drive around and buy what they wanted to have in their home. So I grew up in a castle. It was like a castle inside my home. Everything was from castles. And then I started, and I was educated of my mother to, like, I should marry a royal man in my life. So I needed to know exactly, and I was in education. After school, I go to in education to could take care of a home in a perfect way. It was the royal families that send their children, their girls, to this school for us to learn how to have a real nice household, and so then we should marry a royal. So I was, and that I think it had with my DNA to do, that these ancestors, they make me feel like I don't belong here. I have a hard. It's not only that God has set me apart, but I have always felt that I didn't belong to these ordinary people. So I have had hard to fit into this. I didn't swear. I didn't use bad languages. I act not like those in my school, because I had this royal thinking inside me, and still have, but I have been more mild than before, because life have learned me to be humble. So I am not anymore like I was, but I still have this divided thinking that I can't, like, screaming out to another person. When I was working in like a industry area, and people were screaming at each other all over the room, all over the area, and I could never screaming like that. I have to go to that person and be close and say something. I could never do that. And I couldn't use those words that was not nice to say, and these things. So of course people saw me as different, odd. So that's why I didn't get any friends, only some few light friends. My best friend in my teens, did I come to know she was lesbian, and that's why she was with me. She wanted to be together with me, and it is kind of, you that listen maybe have had this feeling when someone have failed you, that have lied for you the whole time, only to make you be in that way they want you to be, and to know that your best friend, the whole time she wanted to have sexual intercourse with me the whole time, and when we drank she was kissing me, and that was odd in that time when I was teen. And so I know this feeling of very deep. It's not the crying, it's like a dark cloud coming into your body. It's like it's a dark cloud around the heart. It's very sad, but it's not crying for me, but very sadness when people have lied for you. So I think it's what I wanted to tell you about this with the church. And in the start, when I got my DNA result, the first, I got many match on my DNA first. So, and I be so very interested when I found out that I had not only DNA around Scandinavia, I was so all over the world. And I didn't know first that I had royals. And the first that I was looked at, it was because I had become member of the Mormon church. And then I go for the Mormon church to see if there is someone that was in the Mormon church before me. And today I know half of my family tree, if we say that, from 1800, when Joseph Smith was alive. And it's full of people from my DNA in there. And I have told you that I am 25% Jewish, as they counted it. It's not in the DNA, but the Jewish, they measure it by where they have lived. So it's a village community that is only Jewish, and then they say that you are Jewish because of that. It's not Jewish in the DNA, and And then I start to look into the Mormon church history, and then I find the pioneers, many of the pioneers, was told, it was in the written down that they were Jewish pioneers. But I didn't know in that time that they belonged to me. But today I know all those that I find in newspaper, in archive, about the pioneers for the Mormon church that was Jewish. It was my ancestors that come and join the Mormon church. And with that they come and join the Mormon church, they also bring with them the Jewish, because they have to convert from Jewish to Mormon church. And I understand about this now today because I have learned more about the Jewish people, that they were forced to convert to Lutheran church if they should live in Sweden. And some was interested because maybe they have met someone they want to marry, and then they need to live in Sweden. And one of my ancestors was the first Jewish person that didn't need to convert to Lutheran church, and he started the Jewish community in Sweden. And there is a Jewish funeral place where that have his name. And what I wanted to tell you about this with the Jewish and Mormons, that they are very, very similar to each other in their way of thinking and doing things. This Orthodox Jewish way to do it, that this secret is so much secret things, and there is many rules to follow. And in the Mormon church is you go step by step into the temple, and then in the temple is there different areas. And if you have not been okay in the first area, you can't go to the second area. You have to wait until you get proof to be allowed to step into the other room. It's not allowed to walk into those rooms that is in the secret in the temple. But when I was in Utah, in Salt Lake City, I was with those people that was allowed to go into all the rooms. And because I thank for to have been homeless in United States, and I could melt into. I was together with bishops, pastors. I was in their home, and I was behind the churches, big churches, and saw things that normal people don't see. Because I'm very flexible. And of course I can thank my childhood, because I had to hide myself to not be abused. So I almost killed myself, because if my stomach had say something like it's signals to us that I'm hungry, and you hear that sound that the stomach say I'm hungry. If I had that stomach that say that, that could means I should be abused. If my stomach did say something or I coughing, then I be abused. I had to be still and not be seen. And that helped me. So that was in God's plan. So those, now is Spirit here again. He wants me to tell you this, that many things in your life and today you also that can seems very evil and very dark and very abusive things, but it can be something that is useful for your future to have going through. So that's what the spirits are saying here now, to tell me to say this. So that helped me in Utah, because I only follow them. I didn't say anything. I only walk with these people. And then I saw all these rooms. And sometimes they say, oh, you should not be allowed to be here. But I was in the room. So what could they do? And they said, you should not supposed to be here because you have not coming to that step yet to be allowed to go into this room. And so I saw everything in the temple. I noticed very much in the temple. But in the same time, when I was in the temple, it was thick in the air, like have to cut with a knife to come through, because it was so much spirits in the air. But the Spirit is on me to confirm it, because I know it today that this thick air I felt in the temple, that was my ancestors that have been in that temple. I was in 2 temples in Salt Lake City, Bounty Field and in downtown, the temple. And I have seen that in my family tree that they were born just in that area. So some were born in Bounty Field, where I was, and we baptized people there, and female baptism was it in Bounty Field, and I understand now that they welcomed me into the temple, my ancestors. It had not with the church to do. It's about they have been there. That's why I felt it was like a thick. It was like a feeling like it was a whale, and I have to go into that whale to could do those things. It met me in the door opening, this whale. So it had not with the church to do. It had with my ancestors to do. That they had been there. They have been baptized in the temple. They have been married in the temple. That was it. I felt, but I didn't know it that in that time, because I have just got my first DNA results, and I'm glad I didn't know everything in that time, because I met all my lineage people in Salt Lake City, and I should be welcome into many families in Utah, because I was related to them, and I have not time to do it, because I have to do what God wanted me to do, and what those spirit wanted me to do. So I have no time for myself to do worldly things, to be on dinners with those that have the same DNA as me, almost the same. We are twins can have different DNA. It doesn't need to be 100% the same DNA. So it's very unlikely that there is people that have the same DNA. It's 0. So I know it was something more that I should talk about, but I record later today if I remember what it was. This spirit that is here, it seems like that spirit is not connected with what I feel like I should say to you. I wait a little to see if he saying something. No, he waved with his hand that he don't want to talk. So that was it. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.